Hello, everyone. I'm Marijke de Roek, and it's my pleasure to bring the living labs of Civitas Portis on stage. Klaipeda, Aberdeen, Antwerp, Trieste, and Constanza are five port cities located on the four European seas. Our consortium has gathered 33 partners to implement and test 49 innovative measures to improve the livability of our cities and the growth of our ports. Our five port cities are interesting living labs because they are all urban nodes on the TEN-T network, and all ports are key in our European supply chain. As a consequence, three of our five ports are run by national governments. So, setting up a fruitful dialogue between the national and local level was an important first step towards more sustainable urban mobility plans, and this was especially the case in Klaipeda, Trieste, and Constanza. In Antwerp and Aberdeen, the situation is a little bit different because in Aberdeen, the port is run by a private company, and in Antwerp, the port is run by a public company, which has the city of Antwerp as one of its main shareholders. All our port cities focus strongly on behavioral change. Klaipeda, for instance, started by involving its residents in the preparation of its sustainable urban mobility plan. And both Antwerp and Aberdeen engaged employers to make their workers commute more sustainably. Trieste and Constanza launched Portis Days and gave the streets to pedestrians and cyclists during the European Week of Urban Mobility. And they saw that the paradigm is beginning to shift from cars to active travel. All of our awareness campaigns, raising campaigns, started with a thorough analysis of the main barriers and drivers of our travelers. Whenever road safety proved to be an issue, we addressed this issue first before we started our campaigns, and especially in the port of Antwerp, we saw that quite a number of people took to their bikes to ride to the port. Cycling is also an important and an uncomfortable way to explore your city, but if your city is built on a slopey hill like Trieste is, you might want to launch a shared e-bike system so that both your residents and visitors can get a little bit of help when they're cycling uphill. And this brings us seamlessly to a number of smaller and larger improvements of the transport system, which focus both on active and collective or public travel. Klaipeda, for instance, invested in safe bike storage to encourage more people to cycle. And why not invest in park and bike facilities so that commuters can leave the city by tram and step on a bike to ride to the port? Or was it the other way around? This brings us to a number of measures that focus on public transport. In Klaipeda, buses were equipped with smart tools which make the commute easier and which yield very interesting data and customer insights. In Constanza, the gate to the port was changed to make room for public transport, even though national law in Romania forbids public buses to enter the port. An interesting challenge for the Constanza Mobility Forum, where both the national and the local level meet and try to come up with interesting and new solutions to overcome all the barriers that lie in front of sustainable transport and mobility. In Trieste, buses were introduced in the Old Port, a new requalified part of the city, which has a lot to offer to both residents and visitors. Aberdeen redesigned one of its main arteries to make room for both active travelers and public transport, creating a very welcoming city center in this way. And why not introduce buses for cyclists in the port who need to cross the river and the docks and who are not allowed in the TEN-T tunnels, whereas the buses are? And while we're at it, why not create a water bus to connect the dots between the ports and the city? Both these projects were run by the Port of Antwerp, um, and they were all set up to overcome one of the biggest barriers in ports, and that is, how do your cyclists cross the water? It's obvious. Innovations are often variations and combinations of old themes. A new theme on the horizon is traffic data, which form the basis of several applications that are meant to encourage walking, exploring, and combining several modes. In Aberdeen, we've seen Get About Aberdeen, and in Trieste, we also saw the rise of a new walking app, which is actually meant for visitors coming off the cruise ships and to visit Trieste. But also, mobility as a service was established as a strong concept these past 4 years, and micromobility or shared mobility is on the rise. So our applications have to adapt and expand to make travelers familiar with this new way of life. In Antwerp, we've updated the Smart Ways to Antwerp app with a number of maps that show you in real time where all the shared mobility offerings are in your neighborhood. But also on the rise is electromobility, and more e-chargers are provided not only for cars. Our ports are also planning e-chargers for ships as well. Ships and freight, they are what ports are all about. And when freight leaves the port over the road, you may want to prioritize these trucks at your crossroads and reduce CO2 emissions. Or you may want to shift the movement of containers on your TEN-T network to the nightly hours to reduce congestion during daytime. And you can also redesign the main artery crossing your city center to keep out heavy freight. Or you can collaborate with logistic companies to use electrical cargo bikes in your city and support your local business. The idea of prioritizing lorries at crossroads was really taken up by the city of Aberdeen, whereas the night movements and the redesign of the main artery in the city center, as well as the cargo bikes in the city center, were all initiatives taken by the city of Antwerp. It's clear we've learned a lot in our living labs, and we're glad we've been able to share our insights and successful measures with other port cities such as Valencia, Odessa, Hull, and so on. And we would have been able to share more if COVID hadn't happened. But never waste a good crisis. COVID gave some of our port cities a chance to quickly reconvert streets meant for cars into streets meant for people. In Aberdeen, we've tested the impact of flower boxes, and in Antwerp, paint is a placeholder for trees, terraces, and outdoor shops. In the meanwhile, all our ports remained open to keep us supplied with food, energy, and medicine. Thank you for listening, and please visit our website for more information. Goodbye.